A Guten Erev Shabbos on this glorious Friday in Boston. So this week was another crazy week. And as we prepare for Shabbos, I wanted to touch on one idea and maybe to connect it to what's going on. We witnessed firsthand on Wednesday, shockingly, people scrolling graffiti in Union Square, praising Hamas, cursing the Jewish people in America, chanting death to America, pulling down the American flag, the symbol of democracy and freedom in the world, and burning it while hoisting a Palestinian flag. We also witnessed the Prime Minister of Israel give a 55-minute speech that was both brilliant in content and moving in the people that were brought and represented in that speech. But yet, because of the person that said it, so many people are unwilling to listen to it. And the same happened earlier this week, or right after that, when a president who served our country for 50 years, if you agree with him or not, spoke about passing the torch. Where have we gone wrong that we can't just unconditionally love our country instead of seeing the person who's representing it? You love Netanyahu, you don't love him. He didn't speak for himself. He represents Israel and heroic IDF soldiers who gave their life for their country. Love America or not, this is our country. How could you burn the flag? And at the end of the day, a president that served for 50 years to this country, you don't have to like him or agree with all his policies. But stand for your country. Be proud of where you come from. Respect. It's painful. And it's come the time that we need to focus on loving our country, on loving democracy, on standing for Israel, because our country needs us desperately to be citizens who love and embrace that which is best about America, about Israel, and not to be divisive and hate a leader because they're from the other side. We're not going to agree on everything, but our country needs us to unite. You know, in this week's Torah portion, Moses is about to pass, as we said earlier in the week, and he pleads with the Almighty to bring a new leader to the people that will go in front of them, that will lead them, that will nurture them. And right after God tells him to appoint Joshua, God turns to Moses and says, don't forget the offering every morning and evening in the temple, the sheep, the lamb that was brought. And Rashi says something remarkable. He brings from the Midrash. The Midrash says, what's the juxtaposition between what Moses was asking God for a leader and God saying that you should bring a sacrifice every morning, an offering every morning and evening, my bread? What's the connection? And the rabbis give a beautiful parable. They say that Moses is an example of when a husband has a wife who's passing away and she's sick, and before she passes away, she turns to the husband, the king, and says, please look after the kids, because I'm not going to be here. The Yiddish Shemame, the one who took care of the kids, is not going to be here the whole time. Please take care of the kids. And the king looks back at his wife and says, you're worried about them, but what about me? Who's going to look after me? You looked after them, but you also looked after me. You made sure they respected me. You made sure they took care of me. Says Rashi from the Medrash that God was telling Moses, you're worried about a leader for the Jewish people who will nurture them, who's going to make sure they follow in my ways. And the question, of course, is how could you compare that? Moses naturally is looking for a leader because he cares for the Jews, and the Jews are people who have challenges, who have struggles, and he needs a leader who will stand up for them. But God's infinite. Does God need Moses to protect him? To make sure that the Jews have a relationship, that they have an offering, that they come daven every day, that they talk to God? Says in 1971, the Rebbe said in a talk of his, revolutionary in the way Chassidus sees it, the Rebbe says, God created the world in a way that not only do we need God, but God needs us. God needs every human being. Yes, we're finite. small specks of dust in this large world, in a limitless God. But God wants a relationship with each and every one of humanity. He needs every one of us. And the Rebbe said in his talk, then you look around, you see people who feel so lonely, who feel worthless in the world, who feel they're not needed. And the Rebbe said, you have to know that God needs and craves a relationship. As Karbani Lachmi Yishai, the moment after Moses asks for new leadership, God says, what about the Jewish people's offering they bring me every morning and evening? And the rabbis say that today, instead of the offering, we have the davening, the prayers that we say. And what God is saying is, I need you as much as you need to pray for me because you need things from me. I need you. I need a relationship. I crave a relationship with humanity. I'm thinking about our country. Country needs people who are stand and proud for their country, protect their flag, protect their anthem, protect their values, even if you disagree with someone. And the same is true with Israel. Bibi Netanyahu stood in Congress and spoke the most remarkable words that Americans have not been listening to, about the demonstrators, about the hypocrisy, about who's feeding all this, about Iran, about those on the college campuses, not just the students, but also those who lead it, and about the ridiculousness of them thinking that they're standing up against genocide when yet they're allowing it by all their vileness. Someone had to say it and it had to be heard. You don't have to like him, but it's our country, and he's the democratic leader appointed of our country. So many people didn't even want to listen to the speech, but there was a few parts when I watched it that brought me to tears. And the first was when Prime Minister Netanyahu got up there and he pointed to the IDF soldiers, the true heroes who have been fighting this war for 9 months. And he pointed to a Lieutenant Avichai Ruvain. He's an officer in the paratroopers. His parents immigrated from Ethiopia. And on October 7th, he woke up and he heard what happened. And he ran and he took his rifle. And he wanted to go to protect the Jews in Be'eri and all the kibbutzim who were under assault. But he had no car. And he got his rifle on, he got his uniform on. And with all that on him, he ran for 8 miles. 8 miles. Imagine. Just to go and to protect his brothers and sisters. And he killed many terrorists. And rescued so many Jewish people. Here's a man from Ethiopia. The world calls us colonizers. Here's a man who was a minority, who stood up and ran 8 miles because he knew his country needed him. And then there were so many remarkable soldiers that Netanyahu tried to shine the light on, that people could see what the IDF really is. There was another soldier there whose name was Asaf Sofer. Asaf Sofer, protecting his friend from a grenade, lost a leg and his left eyesight. And he was standing there in the chamber of Congress. And when they called him up, he hoisted up his walker that he uses because he has a prosthetic. And he was so proud. And Netanyahu announced that this man is going back to be a commander of a tank brigade. Imagine, these soldiers know that they're needed. And there were more. The point is, there were so many beautiful words that were said and shared about Israel, the country we love, the country that needs us. Words that the world has to hear. Words that were articulated masterfully. You don't have to love the man. But if you love the country and you know the country needs you, we have to be spokesmen of these words. We have to be proud of what we represent. Every single one of us has a tremendous worth and value. Every single one of us has a gift that nobody else has. And each one of us has a responsibility to use that gift to celebrate and to protect and to stand up for Israel, for democracy, for humanity, and know that the gift that you have, nobody else has. And God needs that relationship with you. And we have a responsibility to share it. God bless you. Have an awesome day. And I still recommend that you go onto YouTube. It's an hour speech. You can put it at 1.5 times speed and listen to the speech and internalize it. God